Hey everyone, recently I was lucky enough to be invited as a member of press to Play Expo Manchester. It was a great time where I got to meet a lot of other UK YouTubers, and I was even able to meet up with my good friend and world famous YouTube phenomenon, Dr. Shrek. There's a lot to do at these events, ranging from arcade games to panel discussions and live shows, but outside of seeing one of my favourite YouTubers hit the deck, sorry, DJ Slope. The highlight for me is always looking at the box art for the classic retro games up for sale. It's so common for games to have wildly different box art dependent on which region they are released in, and it's fascinating to find variants you didn't know existed. Take this Banjo-Kazooie box art for example. This has given me an idea for a new series where I compare box art from different regions for some of my favourite games. There's likely box art I still need to discover, and each episode I imagine I will tell more of a story about the different ways each region interprets the same games. There are often more versions of box art out there, but notably Japan, America and Europe will have distinct differences that are always worth mentioning. When I refer to the PAL versions of the games, I'm tending to refer to the artwork that I'm familiar with in the UK. So welcome to the gallery. Given the videos on this channel already and a huge Sega presence at Play Expo, this week we will be looking at the Sonic 1 box art, and we have the Japanese, US and PAL variants displayed in the gallery frames. First up, we're going to look at the original Japanese box art, which was designed by Akira Watanabe. Key features of the design include the classic original Sonic design, that I have quite frankly discussed to death by this point, displayed in his trademark pose. Alongside this, a white clean version of the series logo is present against a clear Sonic blue background. There's an abundance of colour here and a party style pop effect in the background. Sonic is allegedly the most famous hedgehog in the world. That is one seriously unimpressive feat. Isn't he the only famous hedgehog? I think this is a really unique box art style, and while it doesn't tell us a lot about what is in the game itself, it does celebrate the character of Sonic the Hedgehog very clearly. It's loud and vibrant and puts emphasis on this cool character that we're meant to look at on the box and be infatuated by. The patterns themselves remind me of the intro to Saved by the Bell and a party atmosphere that makes me think of Sonic's peak time period and attitude perfectly. Next up is the box art for the US version of the game, designed by Greg Ray. May have pronounced that wrong, sorry mate. From the get-go, there are some noticeable differences. I mentioned this in part 2 of my Sonic design retrospective, but a different Sonic design was used in the US, and he takes the front and centre of this box art. While similar poses are delivered, there's a clear attempt to give him more attitude for the consumption of a Western audience, and he's there in the centre of the frame for clear emphasis. I'd also say that this box art tries to give a clearer sense of what the game is actually about. It abandons the Japanese abstract shapes and colours in favour of artwork displaying the game's first level, Green Hill Zone. Whilst the Sonic logo font remains the same, the Hedgehog tagline does not. This again feels like an attitude-based decision, moving away from a stylistic looking design for one that is louder and draws more of the attention of your eyes. Because nothing says edgy like font choices. The artwork also features a red Sonic the Hedgehog logo, which stands out against the rest of the image strongly. I think this is one of the rare occasions where the design has been featured in this colour. It's a little bit odd to look at now. Do correct me if I'm wrong, I know you will. Even though this Sonic design isn't my personal favourite, I do think that this is a great piece of box art and a really interesting difference from Japan. Ending with the version I grew up with in the lovely little country of England, here is the box art for the PAL version of Sonic the Hedgehog. According to my research, this was again designed by Akira Watanabe, and from looking at it, I'm not surprised. At a glance, it does look very similar to the original Japanese artwork, but there are noticeable differences that make this very interesting. This feels like a more spelled out version of the original box art in my eyes. It includes similar design elements such as the wacky shapes and line art, but does this whilst incorporating features from the game that would be identifiable. Notably, this includes the villain Robotnik and a few of the animal companions Sonic will have to rescue on his adventure. The key difference with the background, however, is it opts for a pastel pink colour palette, which takes emphasis off of the background and onto Sonic himself, who coordinates very well with that Sonic logo and Sega logo. Now, before I reach my conclusion, I wanted to give a platform to a man that was a very good sport about becoming a living meme. Dan Ibbotson of Slope's Game Room is a mega fan of Sega and Sonic, and I thought it was only fair that I reach out for his input.
Oh yes, we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 1, probably one of the most important games of my life. Literally got that back on Christmas of '92, and obviously I got the European PAL box art, which is easily the best. But I'll explain why. Because although the Japanese box art looks pretty good, you know, you've got the white background with the very popping out there sort of colours, the squiggly lines, very Saved by the Bell, Clarissa Explains It All, that sort of thing. In my opinion, that always felt like the American cover, or what the American cover should be like, you know. Yeah, I always preferred the Japanese box art over what America actually got, which to me almost looked like there's a bit of a picture, you know, like they've put it in that square. I mean, Sonic himself doesn't look as nice. He's definitely got that more 90s shade about him as well, which I don't really like too much. He looks a lot more round and plump in that picture. And like I say, it looks like only some of the picture that was designed is there. But the UK PAL box art, easily the best. I'm going to say, because that's the one I had. That is the best one because you've got that classic Sonic the Hedgehog character right on the front in that perfect pose. But also in the background, you've got the beautiful artwork right on the back in just those two very loose colours of Flicky, another one of Sonic's powers, and then Dr. Robotnik as well. And it's just very reminiscent from the pictures that you see inside the manual. That's why I think the UK box art is definitely the best, followed by the Japanese box art, which probably should have been the American box art. And yeah, American box art comes last. Ugh, don't like it. Back to you.
Cheers, Dan. That's some supersonic insight. But which design do I think is the best? It's actually a very difficult decision for me. I am going to rule out the US box art straight off the bat. As explained, I don't think this is a bad design at all. It's actually very good, but stylistically, I don't think this is anywhere near as aesthetically pleasing as the Japanese and PAL variants. In an ideal world, I would actually mix elements of both these designs together, as I prefer the artwork that surrounds the PAL version, but I'm not 100% sold on the colour scheme. Here's a crude mock-up that I've made that incorporates these designs together. But while I've made this change, I have to say the Japanese version is most definitely my favourite, with the PAL version a very close second. It is purely from a colour standpoint. This box art screams exciting to me, whereas the PAL version feels almost too slick and stylish for its own good. It's a beautiful design, but it doesn't fully encapsulate Sonic's attitude in my opinion. It's too mellow, and while it's cool, it's not quite as exciting. So that's it for this episode, and it's 1 point for Japan. Tune in to next episodes to see how this tally continues to grow. I'm super keen to do this series for all of the original Sonic titles, as well as the Zelda and Mega Man series too. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Let me know which box art you grew up with and which one you prefer in the comments section below. A big thank you as always go out to my patrons who support me on Patreon, with a special thank you to top contributors Top Hat Gaming Man and Aidan Briggs. More info on my Patreon can be found in the description below.